But we do want to kind of have an opportunity to ask questions, for any of the presentations, or if you just want to find out what their favorite color is, or whether they like cats or dogs.
It's obviously cats.
Open up. Do I have a microphone for the people? I'll just grab one. All right. So it'd be better if I can use the microphone to ask, if you can use the microphone to ask questions so that we can record them, so that people can hear them and they don't have to repeat them. So any questions? Yes. Your name is?
This is for Phil. I noticed you were using journal-based mirroring. Is that because of when you started the Microsoft project?
So that might actually be an incorrect statement on that slide. If it says journal, it should be snapshot-based.
Okay. Oh,
Because the journal-based implementation obviously adds a massive performance overhead.
yes, exactly. You get
So-
double rates. Yeah.
It might actually be incorrect on that slide. But thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Specifically for Phil. Any core questions? Oh, come on. I'm going to pull out my left hand, right hand if you guys don't ask questions. Questions? I know the heat is unbearable in here, but I did open some doors.
Can the presenters ask questions?
Yes, absolutely.
I've got a question.
Sure.
I've got a question for you, Sachin. With regards to the new VFS module for Ceph, what sort of performance difference are you seeing for the old one versus the new one?
Our performance team is right now running those tests. So I don't have the numbers.
Okay.
My testing is all done on virtual machines, so that's not a good place to do performance tests. So as soon as I get the numbers, we'll publish it somewhere.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks. Does anyone else have a question?
I also had a question with regards to the SMB and NFS. I've been involved in that years ago with Gluster in Red Hat also, and I remember that this was a huge thing that clients always asked for, but also many competitors have always been struggling with that because of the locking. So you have the locking in SMB and locking in NFS, and they don't know about each other. They are not aware.
That's the biggest block.
So how are you trying to address this? Is there any clue on?
We don't know yet. We just started that conversation. That's the biggest blocker. As long as I've been working with network file systems, that's been the holy grail. That's the big thing.
I think Greg's working on the definition.
Okay. Yeah.
Any more questions? Phil, you can ask questions to the other guys.
Well, what I was actually thinking is, to the users in the room, like, what is missing? What causes pain? Like, I think those are the things that we would all like to hear about and should be aired. So if there are things that you think, oh, that really sucks, like, tell us. We have all evening. Cool. Ceph's perfect.
You'll hear more after people get a few beers.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Cool. So speaking of, we got a question. Excellent. He asked the first question of the day.
I was just wondering, because we've had presentations today from Bill, and I think it was Jose, I think he's left us, on sort of good work that's being done on performance, both from the existing sort of like more traditional OSD and Crimson. I'm just wondering if there's like, what sort of the long-term plan is to try and like make sure that work both pushes in the same direction, right? It's like, is there any thoughts on like integrating the work being done on both sides together, or like what the sort of long-term thoughts are there?
I can start and you can take over. I think Bill already mentioned that the Crimson work that is being done and the EC work that is also being done in parallel will go on top of each other essentially. So the good thing is that we hadn't implemented EC for Crimson, and the timing was perfect because the UK folks actually implemented the new fast EC, and Crimson is only going to use new fast EC path. So that's an example of how we're looking forward. So, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'll just add that, Crimson is adding EC support, and we'll obviously be working with the Crimson folk there to make sure that the new EC fits into the Crimson framework. We don't anticipate any problems. It's just a bit of work to do the testing and get it going in Crimson. But there's nothing in what we've done that's incompatible with Crimson. It was designed, knowing that we're heading in the direction of Crimson.
One more example is I mentioned something about OMAP listing performance improvements that were done for the classic side of things. That has also been implemented on the Crimson side of things. So it's not like, Crimson is behind or something. So we are trying to make sure that there's feature parity, and if we are making any bug fixes, etc., it's also going into Crimson. Any more questions? I think something changed.
Yeah. So you asked what is the biggest pain or in Ceph. So I've been new to Ceph Word, and for me it's like the documentation. It can be in the version 17.2.6 there are some hard-coded options for mclock, and that's not set in documentation, and just like one minor version up, it's suddenly different behavior towards the options. mclock itself. So maybe it's just the issue of mclock in these older versions, but for me also sometimes in BlueStar, some of the performance counters and stuff like that, what do those things mean and stuff? It's not really explained much, or at least I haven't found it. Maybe it's there,
Do you want to talk about mclock?
You had to catch me, right? I guess mclock, the idea behind mclock was to hide some of the internal parameters around recovery, etc., which is why, if you see some hard-coded values, it's for a good reason. Maybe that hasn't been explained well, and I can give you an example of, I think max backfills or something got hidden completely with mclock. The idea was to use profiles so that you don't have to understand 100 parameters, you just understand 3 parameters, right? I know we didn't get it right at the first go. We have been tuning it, we've been changing things, and we are making things much more flexible so that if users want to go back to the old method, they can still just go and do manual tuning. And there is a free-from profile as well, where you can do your benchmarking, set your own parameters, and run it in your way. So I'm sure there's room for improvements. If there's any specific feedback you want to give, just feel free to open a doc tracker and just throw it in Slack, and I'm sure somebody is going to get back to you and give you the explanation. And if it's a mistake, it's a bug, we'll fix it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question for the Ceph dashboard. I think in the last slides, there is one item for the future work. It says a storage browser. I wonder if that's the open source UI component from AWS storage browser, or is your own storage browser?
A good question, I would say. I think continuous demand for the Ceph dashboard to have the browser over there. So the plan is to have an inbuilt browser over there, and so that on the object on the bucket page you can have access to all the objects and do the upload, delete the objects. So yeah, it will not be independent over there. Maybe in future we can plan to have an independent browser as well.
So you're building this yourself, or okay? So
Yeah.
because AWS just released the open source component called the storage browser, so I wonder if you try to leverage those open source component or.
Yeah, I think we explored that. We
So-
could not make it use.
Yeah, what's the main challenge there?
Yeah, I think the project name is Amplify.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was actually React based, so we could not integrate it well with the Angular over there. So we thought of going with our own plans over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they support both reactive and Angular, so that's not the case.
Yeah, not that. That's
Okay.
not the case. We had an interaction with their developer on the open source side. What was mentioned is that it's a long-term plan. They just have the basic things over there, right, which could not be used for us. So we wanted to go extensive on that. So it will take time for them to build the whole thing around Angular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is a fairly broad one, but it's really noticeable how Ceph does not do long-term supported versions of the software, which seems quite unusual for storage software. Instead, you've got you're perennially surfing a wave of actively developed versions, often with quite short overlaps. For example, the Quincy to Squid overlap is like 4 months. Why is that?
Okay, so let me answer the second part first. Quincy to Squid overlap is 4 months because clearly Quincy and Squid were both delayed releases. That's not an ideal example. What we've been trying to do is we've been trying to support N-2, and with the delays, it's almost become N-3. And the amount of resources we have in our lab and human resources to support 3 active releases at a time is not sustainable with the amount of, it's a reality. We've tried to urge people in the community to help us with like builds and like releases, but at some point it is boiling down to a very few hands that do the job. So at the end of the day, we would love to like support more than 2 releases at a time, but there are limitations that haven't been sorted out. Having said that, we want to get back on a regular schedule so that we are not delayed and these overlaps go back to as they used to be. The intention is always going to be supporting N-2 because we want to be able to evolve, and things like disk format changes and stuff, it becomes harder if you want to support too many releases. So I guess the idea is that getting back on a good release cadence, the aim is, again, this is very early information, but the aim is that the U release, which I should make an announcement, it's called the umbrella release, is going to be earlier in the year than what Tentacle is going to be, so that we can again get back to like a spring, summer release instead of like a fall, winter release. So let's see how things go, but we have to be a little strict about the release in terms of like how much we can incorporate in the release, because the dev cycle is going to be very little if we try to do a spring release. So that's, okay, I got a thumbs up. I think you're satisfied.
I'm getting my steps in today. I can't believe I have 4 miles today and I've never left this room.
It's so hot.
During the NVMe presentation, at the last you mentioned that in the work in progress there was a better integration with RBD. Could you detail a bit what you mean by that and what can we expect from it?
Can you repeat what about RBD?
The better integration with RBD.
Yeah, so we have some ideas. We're discussing with Bill. Like, for example, right now the SPDK calculates the CRC, and then RBD is doing also calculations on the CRC. So in some cases, we believe that we can avoid calculating the CRC twice. We can calculate it at the SPDK level, and there is a way to deliver that with the data to RBD to avoid RBD calculating the CRC again. That's one option. The other option is to integrate with reactors, like running the librBD threads together with the SPDK reactors. That's another idea that we need to prototype and see how it goes. Things like that.
Okay, thanks.
He wrote that question down earlier today, so I'm really proud, really proud. All right, any other questions? Yes. You guys should sit together.
I think in the Tentacle feature list, you mentioned disconnected clusters.
For the Ceph ADM bit?
I can't remember exactly, but
yeah,
was that what I would think of as sort of air-gapped?
Yeah.
Yeah, so is that something that might be backported, or is it too fundamental a change?
I would have to check. I'm not the right person to answer that question. I think I have to check with the tech lead what the plans are on that. But I mean, you can always make a request, right? So, yeah.
Thanks.
I'll take your message to them.
All right. A big thank you to everybody on the stage. Thank you very much.
And also,
You guys can have a seat.